Hi, I'm Crystal the Cottage Witch, and today we're going to go over how to make houseplant wards. So since shields and wards are kind of used interchangeably, let's start by saying which one is which. Wards are normally a physical object that anchors the spell, while a shield is normally for a person or a spirit. I know when some people mention how wards shield, it can maybe confuse some people. You could also think of how shields are carried by a person, like a knight would carry a shield. You could also place energetic shields on the inside of your door frames. That way when you walk through it, you're walking through it in that coating kind of area, if that makes any type of sense, which I hope it does. And then afterwards you could ward the physical doorway frame. But shields are primarily energetic since they are placed on a person, and wards are mostly physical objects, though they can be energetic as well. Sheila shields, this wall is a ward, if that kind of helps remember it and kind of clear up any confusion, because like I said, wards can shield, but just so there are distinct differences between the two of those. I hope that helps. Just in case there was anybody out there who always heard the terms interchangeably, however felt kind of weird to ask. I know they're used in the same sentence a lot. But anyway, I'm sure most of you guys are very familiar with wards, what they are, how they work. So I'm briefly going to go over some things that I've learned in my experience, but I'll timestamp everything down below just in case you want to skip ahead. So for myself personally, I like to make sure that my space and my area where the ward is going to be is cleansed both physically and energetically. Some people just do this after as well. It just seems to work better for me if I do it beforehand. You just should attempt, if possible, to not have a ward in a cluttered or messy space. If you can. If you can't, no worries. But this is believed that energy can get trapped to things or stuck if there is no free movement anywhere. I don't know what this is. This looks like a fish. This looks like a salmon going upstream right now. This is the energy hand. The energy hand is going crazy. And having things with no clear path can make energy kind of stagnant, if that makes any sense. It's not the law of energy, but it is a big belief to some. Also for myself, I reprogram my walls when I'm doing a new ward or refreshing an old one. I have an older, very in-depth video on my channel in a very, very in-depth wall reprogramming, because I normally do it in the fall and in the spring to help with my seasonal depression. And that's the name of it, I believe. I'm going to link it up, so it's going to be up here somewhere. But that's my hardcore twice a year routine, because I have shared walls everywhere. I am literally boxed in by people on all sides. So this isn't an everyday deal. And since the loud, aggressive, argumentative neighbors have moved, thank you, hot foot powder, I actually haven't reprogrammed my walls in a while, but I'm still going to. Just not on camera, because that's an older video. And what I mean by reprogramming my walls, because this is my term for it, is your walls, if you have drywall and or paint on it, a lot of drywall and paints contain selenite. They contain gypsum, aka they contain crystals. Just to kind of just sum it up basically. And for myself, since I do go through bouts of seasonal depression and I have shared walls, I basically do it to change and reset the battery or the memory of the crystals in the walls. I know that's going to sound crazy unless you're a witch, but I reset that and then I do a big cleanse afterwards. Again, I'm not doing that on camera. I'm just letting you know things that I did beforehand. If you own your own home, you probably most likely have never done this, but if you want to give it a try, please let me know how that works out for you. It's also fair to mention that, this is going to go hand in hand with reprogramming your walls, as well as clearing and cleansing your space. But that is, you cannot ward against that which is already there. Wards don't remove anything. They also don't fix or change mundane actions in your life. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and thinking it's all just bad luck, and you're going to try and ward against that, it's not going to do anything. Warding isn't cleansing and warding isn't clearing. Warding is primarily used for protection. There are other things to use it, but the most common thing is for protection. Figure out the whys behind why you want to ward and what you're trying to ward against, which is going to take me to the next part, which is the layers. So I'm sure most of you know that you're supposed to do your wards and your protections and everything else like that in layers, and they work best in layers. When you just throw a generalized tablecloth of protection over a whole big area, like your whole space. Think of it like pizza dough. If you're going to make a regular sized pizza, the dough is fine. But if you need to make a big pizza and you still just have the same dough, it just keeps getting stretched and stretched unless you add more dough or make multiple little pizzas with it. Otherwise, you're going to have a really big, fragile pizza that's going to be hard to maneuver and hard to carry everywhere. I'm also really hungry, so I hope the pizza analogy makes sense. But layers. But if your home is too layered in so many wards, you can potentially become too over-reliant on your wards. How are you going to sense fully all that funky energy on your own? You know what I mean? Take some of your power back. You don't want to like secure yourself, and I say secure as in secure, like strap in that seatbelt, secure yourself type of thing, with so many wards that you're basically locked in a prison, for like an extreme case wording of that. If you feel like you need that many wards in a non-emergency situation, that's definitely a reaction to some type of response. So that is more of a reactive response. You might need to sit down with that and figure out where that comes from. Like how every little thing doesn't need a spell. Every little thing might not warrant a ward. Please don't live your life in fear. You don't want to make wards from a place of fear. If you're subconsciously or even consciously like thinking, I'm making these wards because I am scared of negative energies or negative entities or X, Y, and Z. I don't want them getting in my house. You're letting your fear and your discomfort rule you in that aspect. And the result isn't like as strong, and you lessen your own power. I'm here to remind you that you are awesome. You are badass. You are powerful. It's totally fine to have a few wards, but if you feel like you need your whole entire home covered in wards and you need all these protections to go outside, you don't need to buy all these trinkets, you don't need to buy all these jewelries, you don't need to buy all these crystals, you don't need to buy all these oils. The power and the energy is in you. Don't forget that. Wards will also need recharging. Hence why the one we're going to be making or redoing, I'm going to be dismantling a ward. Sorry, my mister. I'm going to be dismantling a ward to be making a new one because this poor plant has been through hell and back, but it's still fighting, and it's only happy when it's in a ward. It's so weird to say and describe, but there's a big difference with this plant when the ward is dismantled and it's just a regular plant versus like when it's in a ward and then it just thrives. I mean, it makes sense, but still. But that's why I'm going to be doing it with a plant. Now I know probably a decent amount of you guys have house plants, so this would be an easy way to do this. And again, if some of you guys like to do, you know, your witchcraft related things or a ritual type thing, or just feeling like I don't know how else to describe it, but witchy. But if you have that vibe and you feel like you need to do something, doing regular maintenance and taking care of your plant can help you with that. Because again, not every little thing needs a spell. I couldn't get those words out. Oh my gosh, I'm in such a silly willy mood, but I'm trying to be serious for this part. But I'm probably going to show you my ostrich pants in a second, so just heads up for that. Because witches normally, unless they're working for clients or anything else like that, aren't doing 20 million spells a day regardless or not. In the beginning of our practice, most of us are, yeah, we're doing a spell for this, we're doing a spell for that, we're doing this and we're doing that, and oh, we're charging this, we have the pocket full of crystals, or we have a pocket full of charms, we have a pocket full of sunshine. I can't sing that, otherwise I'm going to get copyright. But when you're more in tune with your practice and when you're more in tune with your craft, a lot of these things get picked up into like your daily routine, and you're, weaving magic naturally without thinking about it. It doesn't have to be this big grandeur type deal. But if you like doing that in the aspect, the houseplant ward is perfect for that, because it's constantly recharging through the natural life cycles as the plant, as well as working with the plant spirit and the energy of that plant as well. So it's like a twofer. It's also easy for someone to work with or check with wards if it's something that grabs your attention, like a plant that is dying or a plant that is wiltering or something that you have to remember to take care of, versus it being like a random object like a statue where you might not remember it as much. Everyone is different, but sometimes it's a little bit easier with a living thing, not like a pet, but I'm talking about like a house plant. But each time you water the plant, each time you talk to the plant, each time that the plant moves to follow the sunlight, it is getting getting recharged. And especially if you like to talk to your plants, because that's a transaction, you know what I mean? Because then you're doing like a charm. And when I say charm in that aspect, I mean like a song or like poetry or like a talking poem kind of charm where you're going back and forth with the plant. But of course you could add like, little trinkets too. I should also mention that trees and shrubs could also be turned into these types of wards too, if you have any on your property that you're able to work with. Sorry, I have hiccups and I'm trying so hard to like talk in between them. But if there's any plants that are like in a magical space that you go, like if you don't practice at home, if you practice somewhere else or outside of your property, when I say plants, this encompasses trees and shrubs too. Now we're going to be going into how I make this specific houseplant ward in a second. This one is going to be a little bit more than protection. It's going to be semi of a transmutation ward, But before I forget things off the top of my head, I'm just going to list some things that you could add to your houseplant ward, just in case I forget it when I'm talking about my specific things, because I chose specific things. But wards are not just encompassed to the things that I'm going to be using when I make this. I just don't want to forget too late, because the plant that I've been using, like I said, has been a ward multiple times, and it is currently not a ward, and it is very sad. So we're gonna turn it back into it. Again, these are for like plants specifically that I'm talking about, because I don't want to forget it. But when you're making the ward for the first time, giving it like a really good treat helps, like some really good fertilizer, or if you work with blood, or if that doesn't make you uncomfortable, you can use that as well from your cycle, or if you just do like a little finger pinprick. But if you do use blood, I would recommend like digging and then covering it with dirt afterwards. That way it doesn't smell. And you don't need like a whole lot of, it's just a little bit if you were to use that. Or some compost, some banana peels, mix that in. And you could also semi make it into a type of mousetrap spell. Now I have a video on slipknot spells, mousetrap spells, how to make loopholes and undo your own spell work. Again, I'll link that up here somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be because my lens is facing the other way. But you can tether a pendulum to it as a precaution, again, just to see. It's something that you're not going to be holding, and that way if something was to go on, you can consult the pendulum that is already attached to the plant, or you could have the pendulum notify you. Nice and simple. And then we have the very, very basic, like sigils on paper. Burn the sigils, let them cool, and then mix the ashes in with the plant. Or trace it into the soil and then sprinkle the ashes that match the sigil into that soil too. Or you could put some sigils on eggshells, rinse or wash them with some holy water or moon water, just nothing with fragrance or alcohol that's going to be going on plants. Let it dry. Draw some sigils on it with charcoal, or your intentions on it with some charcoal. Crush them up and add that in. You could also add metal, like coffin nails, iron nails, a horseshoe, a bullet casing with a sigil tapped in there or packed full of crystal chips. I'm also going to note that most houses will already have like metal and steel and iron built into the frame. So if you're worried that you don't have any iron or any metal on display, chances are it's already built into your house. Just in case you're like, oh, I need some iron for protection. Chances are it's already built into your house if you have a newer house. And if you're curious on iron and witchcraft, again, I have a video about that too. I'll link that one up here. I don't want to seem like I'm being promotional, but if this could help anybody, I'm putting it up here just in case. And there's some spells and tips in there, from like revealing the truth spells to a spiderweb spell and stuff like that. You could also add red or black like string, like ribbons or like yarn or embroidery thread, and tie them to your plants. Red being the color of blood, the life force, vitality, strength, the color of Mars. Black, all the colors together to reflect things and absorb things for protection. Gentle little bows, and then you could even add like little trinkets and charms or broken jewelry pieces and all that stuff. Okay, I feel like I had more, but I can't think of them, and then when I'm editing this, I'm honestly probably going to be too tired. So let's actually go into making this transmutation houseplant ward. Houseplant ward. All right, now that that's all the way, I'm probably going to be a little bit silly for this, because like I said, I got my funky pants on, and I am ready to put my hands in some dirt and just smell the dirt. Weird. Have you guys just wanted, like, looked at fresh dirt and just been like, oh man, I want to know what you taste like? Is that weird? That's probably weird. I'm probably going to lose 2 subscribers from saying that, but I'm just being completely honest. Like, it just smells so good, and like that really fresh black dirt, you're just like, oh, it smells so good. I think it's because it reminds me of like ground up Oreos. You know those like pudding cups, and they would have the ground up Oreos to make it look like dirt, and then they would put like the gummy worms. I think that's what it makes me think of. All right, let's start going into making this houseplant ward. I just want to show you my overalls real quick. They're so baggy. Look at this. Can you see me? See how baggy these are? Do you want to see something really funny real quick before we get serious? Watch this. I look fake, don't I? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I thought I was honestly going to get stuck. Now, obviously, besides the houseplant, what I'm going to be using is a new planter. This one is... Look at the bottom of this one. It's a wave. It's a wave. It's so cool looking. And it's got the drip tray. That is so loud. I probably have to lower the volume for that because that is so loud. I have like a little top. I don't have a garden. I wish I had a garden, but I am terrified of bees. There's only like 3 things I'm scared of, which is like, you know how everyone has like 3 things that they're scared of? I am terrified of bees, basements, and toast. Tell me you've never jumped when you've been around a toaster. Even though I know what's coming, I still jump each time. Tell me you're not scared of toast. Tell me you're not scared of toast and I think you're lying to yourself. Maybe not. You're probably braver than I am. Most of you guys know I'm a paranormal investigator too, so like going into these haunted places or whatnot, I can't go into a basement by myself though, that's the only thing. But I'll go into like crypts, I'll go into attics, I'll go into like asylums or like haunted places out in the woods in the middle of the night. Scared of toast. Please tell me I'm not alone, please tell me. Anyway, now that you guys are judging me. So for my plant ward, like I said, I'm doing this a little bit of a transmutation spell. And I'm going to leave like a little charm, trying to pay attention to my accent, like a little incantation that you could say. Now for any incantations or any spells that you do, they don't have to rhyme. You know, you could just give your intention to the plant. You don't have to make it anything fancy. You don't have to add any ingredients to it. You could just give the plant and talk to the plant and tell it what you would like to do, show it around your space, and then water it afterwards. So a lot of people just use houseplants just normally as protectors. You don't have to be all like extra with it if you don't want to. Witchcraft doesn't have to be complicated. Witchcraft is most times inherently simple. It's just complex with the understanding of everything. And what I mean by that is understanding how energy works, what the term energy actually means, like the vibes, the essences of things, why we use certain things at certain times when we do use them, understanding the ingredients that you're using. If you choose to work with planetary days and planetary hours or moon phases, or maybe you're more high magic or ceremonial with your magic, that's fine too. But you could just honestly just talk to a plant and just show it your home and what you want it to protect it from. I'm going to be using what's left of my protection powder. I did make a video on that too. It just feels like I'm just like, check out this video. I'm not. If this is helpful for you, I'm going to link up that video if you wanted to make some protection powder. That's also an offering to the land, and I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be using mirror bits in this. Again, you don't have to. These are craft mirror bits. I had bigger ones, but with the size of the planter that I'm going to use, I'm going to be using smaller mirror bits to mix in with the soil. I had a snail shell. I can't find it, so I'm going to use a seashell. Or the alabaster queen has made her presence. For one, for the spiral, the symbolicness of going into life, the cycles of life, but also for the symbolism of protection. This once upon a time was a home to a sea creature. So since I couldn't find my snail shell, I'm using a little figurine of a snail, also for like growth and transformation as well. I have 2 sprays I'm going to be working with. I would normally coat my hand in aloe for like the healing benefits while I'm doing the spell. So I like to coat my hands with whatever I'm working with the spell to kind of add that extra oomph. But I just ran out of aloe and I didn't realize that. So I'm using a manifest spray just to spray on myself, not on the plant because I don't want to harm the plant. And this I got from Anita Apothecary. It's called Empath for protection and grounding, and it has little bits of black tourmaline and amethyst in it. So I'm just going to be using that on myself too. And this is from one of my local stores. The Veiled Crow. This is their Joy and Happiness Anointing Oil. And I'm going to be using this on myself too. Because it kind of smells like lilacs. And lilacs are my favorite flower. Then I have a dry erase marker. If I wanted to draw any sigils on this, and that way if I wanted to, remove the ward or anything else like that too, it's a dry erase marker. I could just, I did the same thing with my mirrors. I write like my little intentions and manifestations, especially if I'm doing like glamour work. And afterwards then I just erase it off of my mirror because it doesn't do any damage. Some cat's claws for protection. A black obsidian arrowhead to cut any negativity coming my way, cut up that energy, break it up, blase, also for protection. An old broken crystal chip bracelet that was given to me. I just have to take out I already took out the fluorite bits. Never mind, because fluorite can't be in water, but everything else can be that's on this crystal old bracelet. It is so old, like the string is a different color. Oh, that's kind of gross. And then I have 4 little tiny baby quartz that I'm going to be putting in all 4 corners in the bottom of the tray. But I was going to be extra. I have a Rose of Jericho next to me and the pot, and I was going to put the quartz in underneath the Rose of Jericho and let it absorb the water for the rebirth of the transformation. And I'm probably going to do that for my other wards because I still have to have a little bit of privacy, you know what I mean? But that's also going to take up a decent amount of time, and I am so behind with everything in my life, and it's been taking me like almost a week to edit each video, so I don't want to miss an upload, so I'm not going to do that on camera. I'll do that off camera. All right, got my pot and soil right here. Kitty keeps playing with this bag. I'm going to move her bag off to the side. I'm going to set up my little tarp. And now let me start taking apart my plant. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mist myself in the sprays, and then I'm going to take the quartz that I'm going to plant in the corners of the new planter, and I'm going to touch them to every part of my house. So for whatever you want your ward to look out for or protect, can you even see me? I think you need to see me. You just mostly need to hear me. But whatever you want your ward to protect you from or to look out from, you want to touch whatever you're using for like the anchor point. Like I said, I'm using a quartz crystal for this. I'm using 4 of them. I'm going to touch them to all the entranceways of my homes, the sinks, the faucets, my phone, my laptop, anywhere where the different types of energy that you could be thinking of. If you get sucked into negative thinking, don't forget to touch it to your phone too, and your laptop or your tablet or your TV, anything that you can consume in any way that affect your thought pattern or your energy. You don't want to neglect it. Your vents, your chimneys, anything. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit of obsidian as well. I'm not going to do that with the crystal chips because they were a bracelet that I used to wear all the time. So that is symbolic of me. That is my energy. So that has a little bit of me that I'm adding into the plant. So I'm going to go do that real quick off camera. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to place the crystals in each corner of my planter. Now I'm going to add in the soil and the plants. I'm just going to do a thin layer of soil and then add in my plants. Now, as I'm adding in the soil after my plants, that's when I'm going to add in my other stuff. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of my protection powder in there. This is all safe for plants. Like I said, there is a video on it. This has ashes in it from protective sigils in it. It has crushed up eggshells. It has powdered antler. It has a little bit of like red brick dust in it. It has powdered thorns from my land and my property of the thorns that grow close to me. It's been energetically charged, and it also has a moss agate and a tree agate stone in there to shake up everything. So I'm going to be mixing that in with the crystal bit, some of the cat's claws, and these are also from Kitty, to look out for Kitty too, but also to shred up that energy. And then I'm going to add in the little bits of mirror into like the top layer of the soil, mix in some of the crystals, and then afterwards I'm going to stick the obsidian blade in there to break up everything. And then afterwards I have an incantation that I'm going to share with you that helps direct the plant into what the plant's job is supposed to do and how it's going to transform negative energy that may be around us into like healthy strength energy, but while also keeping the good and letting the good flow through. Now this part's going to look a little weird, but before I take the plant and I show it around my home and everything else that it's supposed to affect me on, this I just showed like the interior of my home, I like to give a toast to my plant. So I give a toast with the same water I'm going to be watering with it. Now you could use moon water or anything else like that if you decide to toast to your plant to show solidarity and connectedness and that you guys are a team. Make sure you are drinking safe water and you are giving your plant safe water. Cheers. I know he looks a little sad right now because desperately did need to be replanted too, but that is the basics of my houseplant ward. What I am going to do though, I'm going to put on some music and I'm going to dance with them since now I just introduced it to all parts of the house, even though this, like I said, this plant has been ward many times and it only looks healthy when it's a ward. When it's not a ward, it doesn't look healthy. So I think it likes having a bigger purpose. But I also wanted to mention too, I had said before I wanted to do a bone cleaning video. Well, I just recently had a bathroom mishap and my bathroom is currently being redone in a good way. So I cannot fit a tripod in there and film, which sucks. So I'm going to go through the basics of what I'm going to be doing to my vertebrae. It's a deer vertebrae bone that I have, so it's a very tiny bone. But if you found bones and you need to clean your bones, if you have something that still has meat on the bones, I personally don't recommend boiling it. When you boil a skull, it does have an option to open up the pores in the bones and make everything a bit more brittle, as well as letting all the fat sink in, and then it's permanently going to have a smell. Not only that, you're going to be ruining pot and a pan for that. If you need to quickly get meat off any of the bones that you found, you can simmer it. Don't boil, but simmer it. Or, you can get beetles. If you simmer it, just make sure you're paying attention to it, that it doesn't actually boil, because you don't want to destroy the integrity of your bone. My favorite method is the burying method. It's the best one. So if you have something that has a lot of meat on the bones and you want to make sure it's sanitized and clean, if you bury it and say if it still has meat and other bones attached, definitely put it in like a cloth bag or a cardboard box with some holes poked into it. That way the bugs can get in and out, and bury it that way. Because then if you just bury it as is, the bones are going to scatter and they're going to get all over the place, and then you won't be able to find them again. So definitely try and put them like in a cloth bag, like a Muslim bag or something like that. That way all the bugs can kind of get in and out, or a cardboard box, like a shoe box with like a lid with holes poked into it. That way, again, things can get in and out, but not big enough to where the bones are going to go all over the place. And you want to bury it for a few months, at least 6 months. But when you bury it, you have to make sure that you're burying it deep enough and decent enough. And you want to put something on top. That way scavengers don't get to it. But if you put something heavy like a rock, sometimes it's like the bugs also don't get to it neither, and neither does the wind or the water. So we used to use an old wheelbarrow tire. I'm sure a regular tire will work fine. The only thing is, look out for spiders or snakes in the tire if you could put a little mesh over it or anything like that. But try to bury them first. That's like the best and the easiest way. Then after all the meat is gone and you dig it up, you want to gently wash it with like a paintbrush or a very soft bristle brush. I use Dawn dish soap because that also helps degrease it too, just in case there's any fat in there. That way, if you've probably seen bones like this before, if they're kind of like that yellowy color, that fattery color, they've probably been boiled and they haven't been degreased. You could also use borax too. I just use Dawn dish soap. That's just what I use quite a few times. I let it soak in there for a while. I wash it gently. Then I wash it maybe 2 or 3 times depending on the type of bone. And you could use a paintbrush too if you don't have like a soft bristle brush. You could use a paintbrush. Then you want to soak it in peroxide to sanitize it. If you don't have peroxide, you can use hair developer. So you have the little bit of the powdered bleach and then the cream developer. You want to mix in a little bit of the cream powdered the bleach with the toner. Well, not the toner, the developer. And then you could lightly coat the bones in that. It'll gently bleach the bones, but it won't be too too extreme where the bones will be brittle, but it'll also sanitize the bones at the same time. They also have a thing, I think it's called like Bone Bright. I don't know, my dad's used it for some of like his skull mounts, but Bone Bright, it's like it sanitizes and it coats everything, and it also whitens the skulls too. I've never personally used it. They look really nice when they're done, and there's no smell. Like the spray has a smell, but like there's no like meat or like decay smell from the actual bones afterwards. But that has to sit, I think, outside for like a day or two. But my best method for that is I bury them. You could also macerate them. So in other words, you could put them in water and let them sit in water for a very long time. Do not do this if you live in an apartment. Even if you have like airtight Tupperware, don't do this in your apartment, because as soon as you open that lid, that smell permeates everything and you can't get rid of it. Even though it's just a smell and it's not a liquid, when you dump out that liquid and that Tupperware is no longer in your house and you threw it away, you could still smell it in your house. So if you're going to, you know, soak in water and let it decay in water, one, if you're squeamish, that's not very good. You also want to make sure that you're wearing gloves with all of this, because like if you don't know what killed the animal, you know what I mean, and you're still working with fatty tissue and letting it fester in water, I personally don't like that method. But again, that is me. But again, burying is the best bet for me. I personally, like, that's what I have the best experiences from. The bones become a lot cleaner. It's a lot easier to like physically clean the bones afterwards and then sanitize them afterwards too. That way nothing has been porous, nothing has been subjected to any chemicals, nothing has been open to like extreme heat that you would get with like boiling water, you know what I mean? And then just soak them in peroxide. If my bathroom gets done in a timely manner, then I'll just show like some quick clips. I'll have to probably have like Nolan hold the phone of me like cleaning the bones, because there's no room in there for it whatsoever. But because I had mentioned it, I didn't want anyone to think I had forgotten about it. I did not forget about it, I promise. But now my bathroom is a mess. The shower head area where my shower went, there's been a leak, and I was like, oh, it's time to replaster. The whole wall crumbled. And then everything had to get recaulked after that and all this stuff. So it's a mess in there, and my shelving broke during that held everything above it. So I have totes of storage of everything in the bathroom. So it's definitely not fit for filming now. But anyway, if you needed advice on bones, that's it right there. Anyway, I'm going to dance with my plant. I'm going to put on some music. Probably this weekend I'll have like a nice singing bowl day while I bring them outside and I play the singing bowl for them, and we'll have like a little picnic. I know it sounds weird, but I like doing that with my plants. But after everything is introduced, my plant is going up on the shelf where the other previous plants were. I'll probably put like an ending clip once I'm done with everything there. That way, you know, you get to see what everything looks like. This was a very simple yet kind of all over the place ward video for like a houseplant ward. Like I said, you could attach a pendulum to it if you wanted to. This is just like a moon phase for everything to grow on and to add support. Half the time they never grow on these for me, but that's fine. It still looks pretty. But I hope you're having a wonderful night, day, energy, space, and wherever it may be when you are watching this. And I really truly hope that good things happen to you. Bye!